Andrea Ocasio-Cortez's home state of New York has seen a record surge in COVID-19 cases, topping the numbers during the Trump presidency. Here to talk about all of this hypocrisy is Florida House Representative Anthony Sabatini. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, you know, it's always crazy with her, and obviously we all know that she's a hypocrite. What's really glaring about this is that she actually shows no shame whatsoever. It's not only that she's a hypocrite, it's that she's completely blatant about it as she parties it up here in the land of freedom, my home state of Florida.
Absolutely. You know, we're very proud to be the free state of Florida here, and I think this is becoming a new and growing trend. You're seeing a lot of these hypocritical leftist politicians come down here. Usually they're trying to hide it. You know, they're trying to kind of sneakily come and enjoy a good time in the free state of Florida before they go back to their dystopian nightmare of New York or wherever. But in this case, I think she was trying to own it a little bit more, but of course doing what she always does, which is attack anybody that decides to point out her hypocrisy. In this case, you know, telling them that they're perverts or whatever it was that she tweeted out. It's pretty crazy what her approach at this time, I think.
It's beyond crazy, and it seems so scripted, as so much of what she does seems to be. You know, whether you believe that she was casted as an actress for a congressional seat, or you look at her history as an actress and all the theatrical productions that she's done, this seems to be a lot of political theatrics. You know, she's out there tweeting about, you know, sexuality, and if anybody, you know, judges her, that it's on them, and then she's, you know, basically saying that, you know, these people are all obsessed with her. But meanwhile, then she ends up in a bar with drag queens, and I'm looking at this and I'm putting the pieces together, and it almost seems like it might be a very strange, like, press play, like a weird political theatrical press play. Thoughts?
I think that's exactly right. It's obvious that there's some projection going on here. She's the one that's consuming gross amounts of alcohol and going to sexually themed bars, but at the same time, her immediate and first tweet back at her critics who were simply pointing out her hypocrisy was that they're sexually obsessed. And she's probably very sexually frustrated. If you look at her boyfriend, he's not the most masculine looking guy. He's kind of a goofy, weird, kind of pudgy fellow. Probably not the most you know, alluring to many people. I think she's probably just desperate for maybe a real man in her life, and I think that's probably what's really going on here. I hate to take the AOC route and focus on, you know, the sexual element here, but he doesn't look like he's much of a satisfying figure.
Well, you know, she brought it up, and, you know, they have this saying, there's a lid for every pot. So, you know, I don't know how many people are actually interested in her, and maybe she has something in the weird, quirky guy area with her boyfriend, and that seems to be, you know, the demographic that she's in when she's dating. I don't know, because I know nothing about her history and don't care. And the point that she brings this up and makes it about sexuality is really confusing to most of us. We're thinking, what does that have to do with anything? It's almost like she's obsessed with herself most of all. But, you know, I believe that a lot of this stuff that she's doing is scripted, and the people behind her handlers, don't seem that far off from the handlers of Biden in the White House. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's true. I think that she definitely has a team of people that are focused on trying to make her the most important or next exciting thing in the Democrat Party, and they've succeeded, really. I mean, she has, I think, more power amongst the base than Joe Biden and some of the older establishment Democrat politicians have. And I think you're probably going to see her run for president just in the next few years. So, you know, all of this is by design. She knows exactly what she's doing. And, you know, she'll do whatever it takes to garner as much attention as possible, even if that means having really weird conversations about people's sexual interests or, you know, going to drag bars. But this is, I think it's really part of a way of trying to establish her as a, you know, exciting figure in the Democrat Party, apparently.
Well, you know, and South Florida is a great place to go out and to be entertained, and whether it's a drag brunch or a regular bar, there certainly is no source there's no lack of entertainment here in Florida. And we're seeing so many New Yorkers and people from these Democrat-run states, including AOC, come down here. And it seems like, the voters are coming down here in droves. They're driving all of our housing prices up. They're taking up all the rentals. They're, coming down here in just huge numbers, escaping exactly what AOC is escaping right now and getting a taste of freedom. Do you think we're going to see more of an uptick in New Yorkers coming down here over the next year? Is this trend going to continue?
I think it's absolutely going to continue. I think it's absolutely going to continue. I think it's going to be an explosive trend. I think you're going to see more and more of it. A lot of people don't know this, but AOC's mom already lives in Central Florida. She was one of my constituents when I was a city commissioner in Lake County here in Central Florida, where I represent. And so I've met her before, and I think AOC eventually will, once they destroy this state of New York and the city of New York, she'll probably have to move down too. But we've seen something like 400,000 people move into the state. That's probably twice the rate in a similar period of time during the time period of COVID. So you're seeing an explosion of new residents, people trying to enjoy life, make money, just enjoy their freedom and live the American way of life, which is becoming something that's very rare and hard to do. It's not something you can do everywhere. So you're going to see that trend continue. And honestly, at this point, I think we need to really vet some of these people and make sure that they're not bringing their crazy ideas with them. The last thing I'd want to see is people who have cognitive dissonance coming down here and trying to vote for politicians who are going to turn Florida into the next New York City. And that would be a really serious issue for us.
For sure. There was a rumor that Nancy Pelosi bought a house down here. I think it was in Jupiter. I think that rumor might have been disproved, but there was a rumor, nevertheless, that she was going to be moving to Florida. I don't know whether or not she actually maybe just bought a house somewhere else. But we're seeing a lot of these leftist politicians find out what's amazing about Florida. And of course, you feel the same I do, representing that lovely red area of Lake County, which I wish was more like South Florida, where I am, where we have these little blue pockets. Do you think voters are going to vote any differently once they move here?
I don't think so. The good news is most of the people moving down right now, the present trends in Florida are that it's a majority of Republicans and independents moving down, about 80%, to the point where we've eclipsed the Democrat voter registration advantage that the Democrat Party had here in Florida for the first time, literally ever in the history of the state of Florida. So that's been the trend. But the people who are moving down that are Democrat, they have what I call cognitive dissonance. They can't connect their policies to the real life effects of the place from which they're seeking refuge. So they're going to continue to vote those policies, but think that the reason they left is from some other cause. It's sort of a mental issue that some people have. They sometimes call it the Cincinnati syndrome. That used to be the name back when it was a different set of voters. Now it's really like the New York or California syndrome, where you have people moving down who are they don't make those connections, and so they hold on to their old politics, and that's a problem. But thankfully, right now, those people are the minority.
I love your optimism, and I hope that they're going to come down here and they're going to see a taste of freedom, and that they're going to vote red and they're going to decide to stay. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think states like Florida and Texas are going to be even more fortified by the right people moving down. So I don't think they're going to be purple states any longer. I think Florida's become red for a couple of years now, and I think that trend is now permanent.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon, Anthony.
Thank you. Have a good week.
You too.